I grew up in Lawrenceville, Georgia, pretty much smack dab in the middle of Georgia Tech and UGA. Proximity to home, prestige, and the Zell Miller Scholarship narrowed down my college search to these two schools. The summer between my junior and senior year, I toured both UGA and Georgia Tech. What really stood out to me about UGA was just how much the students loved to be there. During the tour, they really emphasized traditions and student culture. At Georgia Tech, they only talked about academics, and they gave me the vibe that I would hate my life as a student there. So, in short, I only applied to UGA, and thank God I got in. My experience at UGA started with Dog Camp, the university's extended orientation program. At Dog Camp, I was introduced to more of UGA's traditions, the power of reflection, and a lot of people who were also eager to make new friends. Because of this program, I formed a friend group almost immediately. It wasn't long before we were doing everything together. Swimming in Hurdy Fountain, spending late nights in Snelling, the dining hall that is open 24/7, going to all of the football games, and always hanging out in each other's dorms. We connected really quickly because of our strong Christian beliefs. We attended a lot of Christian events and talked about our faith often. I shocked myself by how well I was adjusting to college life. I've always been painfully shy, so I never expected to make friends with such ease. But my freshman year, I truly was the main character. My sophomore year, I moved into an off-campus apartment with my freshman year friend group. At around the same time, I got into a toxic relationship that derailed my friendships with these people just as quickly as the friendships were formed. I had no idea what to study. I was a biology major, then a journalism major, then a film major, then I added marketing, then I dropped film. Everything that I had known freshman year fell apart. I was so confused and had no support outside of my family. Feeling completely disconnected from college life, I knew I needed to get involved in something that made me feel good. I've always valued community service, so I applied to be a service ambassador with an organization called Serve UGA. It was through this org that everything started to come back together for me. In Serve UGA, I met a lot of people who weren't Christian, and to be honest, I had never consistently hung around people who didn't share my religious beliefs before. I also learned so much about social issues and how my identities determine how I interact in the world. At this point, there was a lot of cognitive dissonance happening. On one hand, I had everything that my church and my parents had taught me, and on the other hand, I had this new way of thinking about the world around me that centered social justice. I even started to question some of my own identities, especially my sexuality and gender. When you grow up in a heteronormative Christian community, you don't really know that being anything other than straight and cisgender is an option. Flash forward to junior year, I came out as a lesbian, to myself and to the people I interacted with in college. I still loosely practiced Catholicism, but felt resentful of how the Catholic Church refused to address critical social issues. And upon realizing my sexuality, I just didn't know if there was a place there for me anymore. I eventually removed myself from the church altogether. Where I once found community in the church, I now found in the service organizations that I was heavily involved in at this point. I picked up an executive board membership role with Serve UGA, where I made some of my best friends to this day. They accepted every part of me in ways that I never felt accepted by members of the church. Amanda Torrance, a CASA alum, advised the Serve UGA exec board. To me, she was so much more than an advisor. I felt like I could talk to her about anything. Sometimes I would go into her office and just cry when I was feeling overwhelmed by everything. She believed in me and helped me believe in myself as a leader. Because of her, I knew that I wanted to go into the field of student affairs. During my senior year, I continued to practice all of the leadership skills that I learned in the years prior. I felt more confident in my beliefs and identities than ever before. In March 2020, I led an alternative break service trip to New Orleans focused on environmental justice. In the middle of the trip, UGA sent out an email to the student body stating that classes will be canceled for the next few weeks as a plan for the coronavirus was developed. I was then asked by the impact advisor to gather my students and drive home immediately the next morning. It was one of the most stressful, adrenaline-filled 24 hours of my life. But in all of this, I was able to prove to myself just how far I had come in my college experience. I started as an incredibly shy and sheltered freshman and graduated as a confident leader.